Today we are going to be talking about Purple Mash. I know that some of you have never logged into the program before, and some of you have been using it for many years. So please understand that I'm going to cover a variety of things. If you already know some of the things that I'm showing you, just hang in there, because there are definitely going to be new things that you're going to learn today. And we're going to start with the login screen. First of all, you will know that your school does have its own login page. So you'll have the Purple Mash URL with a / and your school's name at the end. That is one of the many ways to get into Purple Mash. I'm going to also show you today, right in the beginning, that we have a new Teams app. I think you may have gotten the email about that you can speak to your admin about adding the Purple Mash app into Teams, so that if you are using Teams as your platform for teaching, you don't ever actually have to leave the Teams platform, which is quite a nice little addition to our program. So looking over at the Purple Mash login screen, you will, first of all, like I said, you'll notice your school's portal will look a little different to this. The admin of your school does have the option to change your school colors, your school logo, the name, the motto, everything on its home screen to make it more personal for your school. And then we also, for most of your schools, have switched on the Office 365 login. If you are using anything else, let us know, and we can see if we've got the integration for that. But most of you, I think, will be using Office 365. If you're not using the Office 365 login, you will first need to you'll need to add the email addresses for all of your learners, so that it does recognize that they have a Microsoft account, and that single sign-in will work perfectly. So I'm going to just log in with my Microsoft account just so you can see how it looks. Let's go straight in. Oh, sorry about that. I changed my password yesterday, so I'm actually not going to show you how to do that. I'm just going to use my Purple Mash password to log in. Just while I'm here, if you do have younger kids using the Purple Mash program and you don't want them to be using their Microsoft login details or something more difficult, you can use picture passwords. So you can use a 2-digit picture password for your little kids. And if I just use the user that I know works here, you'll see if I go to password, it'll bring up my picture password setting on the right-hand side. And those learners will just choose the 2 pictures that are their password, and they'll log right in. So again, just going back in as my own account and logging in here. We're going to get to the Purple Mash homepage. Now, before I move on to showing you what Purple Mash is, I'm going to quickly show you what the Teams integration looks like for those of you that are interested. I see there's already a question in the comments. So this is my Teams account. Hopefully you can all see that. And we have added Purple Mash as our organization as an app down the left-hand side. And you'll check when you click on the Purple Mash icon, it will just validate the fact that you have a Microsoft account and a Purple Mash account, and those email addresses match, and it'll log you right into Purple Mash without the kids actually having to use that login screen at all. So this is a very nice new feature that we've added, and hopefully it will be very helpful for you all. Right. Then we're going to look at, first of all, the home screen of Purple Mash. On the top bar, where I've got my name and my avatar, if I click on that name, it will bring up all the settings that were in the old version, were along the other side of the top bar. That is admin and help. And for the admins that are here today, you will use in the settings area when you need to manage your users, add and remove pupils and teachers. You can do that in the manage users area. And that's where you can also customize your portal. I think those are the two main things that you'll be looking at today. I'm not going to show you print pupil logins because I think most of you are using a single sign-on. Right. Then for those of you that aren't admins that are here, the area of this drop-down menu that will be helpful for you is the support area. So if you go to support, you'll find help videos that you can watch as short introductions to things, most of the things that I'll actually cover this afternoon. And a chat with support, which is a really nice feature. So if you'd like a live chat with someone in support, you can talk to them with the online, with the chat with support button. That's mostly if you're having some sort of a technical issue, or even if you just need some help on curriculum, they'll send it on to us here in South Africa. So that is what you're going to be using in the drop-down menu. And also the new feature here on New Purple Mash is to change your background. So that's just a nice little feature. You can go click change your background and you can personalize the look of your Purple Mash page. Then we're going to have a look over here. We've got the notifications icon, which again in old version was on the left-hand side. The notification as a teacher will just show you work that's been handed in from your learners. So anything that you've set as a task, which we will get to a little bit later on, when that work gets completed and handed in, it will show you the notifications here where you can go directly to the work to mark it, or you can wait for more kids to hand in the work. It will show you who's handed in the work every time you open this notifications area, and you can go directly to the work to mark it, or you can go in a couple of other ways that we'll get to. Right, then we've got the new improved search bar. The search functionality on Purple Mash is really great at the moment. So if I just go, for example, we're looking for resources and I want to look for something on the environment, we just throw it in here to the search bar, and you'll see that I've got all of the folders full of resources for environment. And then a few PDF worksheets that you can download and print out, and all sorts of writing projects, painting projects, and publishing projects here to do with the environment. Right. Then a quick look at the teachers area will show you. This is where you can find, again, resources that are already made for you and some planning ideas. So if we have a look just in the planning area, we've got grammar resources and spelling resources. So these are tests that you can set for your learners. They don't have access to this area. So if you are setting this work as a test, it's not something that they would have seen beforehand and know the answers to. You can go into one of these areas, for example, grammar, and find anything that you're doing by theme and set tasks inside here for them to do and be assessed. Anything that is pre-made on Purple Mash in terms of quizzes and things like that are all auto-marked, so you don't have to worry about doing the marking. You'll just go to the data area later on, or go to the handed in work, and you'll see the results and the scores for anything that's been handed in here. I will get to a point later on when I show you that you can actually customize any of these tests and quizzes that are already on Purple Mash, and any other resource that is on the platform you can customize to make it your own. That means switching, translating the languages, adding additional content, changing the existing content, and so on. So I'm just going to go to the next tab here, which is our CAPS curriculum. This is our curriculum mapping to CAPS. We've got from grade R to grade 7 in here, and in each grade, the subjects that they'll be covering, and in each subject, a breakdown of which resources we think you can use for specific subject areas for each term. So that's just a nice little teacher hack there for you to use to save you some time and frustration. We also have the CAPS curriculum map here, and in this CAPS curriculum map, we just put a little blurb about how to use a specific resource with that area of the CAPS curriculum. So just a nice little thing for you to use as teachers. We have included other curriculums, so the British curriculum, the Australian curriculum, and a few others. So if you do want to go and see what they're doing there and what work relates to it, you're welcome to go and have a look at it yourself. Professional development is where you're going to book chats and webinars with us. And the parents, we're going to get to the parent portal a little bit later on. But then in other, this is where your school admin can go and find the Teams app right now, just while we're waiting for it to go into the Microsoft App Store. You can come download the zip file for the app with all the instructions on how to install the app for your whole organization. Okay, that is the admin stuff out the way mostly. We're going to get to some more interesting things now, hopefully. So there we go, teachers. I'm asking you please to go into the teachers area yourself and just explore. There's so much here that I haven't even spoken about. There's printable resources, online safety resources, all sorts of things that are going to make your life a lot easier, hopefully. Then just quickly looking at the sharing area. This is where we can set up digital display boards for your school, or the admin of your school will be able to set up digital display boards. And we have a shared blogs area where using our blogging tool, when your learners have completed blogs or the teacher has created a blog for the learners to go and find content, they can share the blogs here with specific classes if you'd like. It will only show up for the classes that it's been shared with. So if I was in grade 4, I would only see the blog shared with me. And the same goes for the display boards. Just on this display board, like I said, it is basically a digital board like the kind of cork board that you would have in your classroom. And on these boards, your learners can pin any work that they would like to share with the class. And if they've made things on our coding program or animations or any 3D designs or games that they've made, they can share for their classes to go and play or look at the work that they've done. Right, everything on display boards and blogs, by the way, does need to be approved by a teacher before it goes onto the shared blog, just for safety reasons, obviously. And I'm going to share at the end of the session a recording that we did for a webinar last week, and that will give you a lot more insight onto how to use the blogs and how to use the admin settings of the blogs to make it safer for your school and to be able to share work on the blogs. Right. Moving on then to content delivery. I hope everyone's following up so far and you all understand what's going on. Okay, actually, before I move on to content delivery, I just want to give you a quick tour of what we have on this home screen. I'm going to get to these other 3 buttons on top in a little bit, but we have on the home screen, we've got early years, which includes our mini-mash program for our preschoolers. This early years button, by the way, can be hidden from older learners' profiles. So when they log into their profile, they have their own background. Early years is not showing, and it just looks like a much more grown-up program for them, and it's a comfortable place for them to be online. So that is early years. It's got mini-mash and all the tools from the tools area that can be used for early years. And then we have our tools area, which we're going to cover at the end of the session today. This houses all of the EdTech tools that we have on Purple Mash. So everything to do with coding, technology in the form of games, animation, typing, blogging, music, everything will be there. We'll go into that a bit later. And then games, because I'm not showing you games today, I'm going to just give you a quick view of what it looks like. The games are maths games, grammar games, and a coding game called Time Crimes of Loganator, and a program called Simple City that some of you may know from many years ago. It's just on knowledge and understanding of the world for preschoolers. So I would like you to please at some point go into games and play them yourself, because if I'm going to show you today, all I'm going to be doing is playing games in front of you, which is not going to be very helpful for everyone except for myself. Then back on the home screen, we have the reading area, which previously was just our reading library called Serial Mash. Some of you have got the Serial Mash license, but if you don't, we still have a whole lot of resources for reading, and this will be things like fact files on authors and poets, a place to create book reviews, comic books, character comparisons, all sorts of things to do with reading. These are all writing projects that you can use, and reading journals for your kids to fill in. Right, I will perhaps go into Serial Mash a little bit later, which is our library of about 250 books with associated resources. But if we've got time, we've got a lot to get through today. And I would like to actually give you some information that you can leave the session and go directly into class and get some work done. Right, then we have on the bottom area, we've got our topics and subjects. So if we had to go into topics, you'll see that we have a massive range of topics that you would cover in class. For some reason, it's not opening. There we go. So here's all of the topics which you will hopefully be covering in primary school. And a little bit later on, I'm going to show you how to go and set these projects as tasks and how to customize any of these projects that are on here. So in the topics area, we have about 15,000 projects, but with the ability to change any single project that's on here, which means you have an unlimited amount of projects that you can set as tasks for your learners. Okay, so moving on now, after I've shown you this homepage, I'm going to talk about content delivery. So this is a really exciting part of Purple Mash, that is finding relevant content, uploading your own content, and sharing that content with your learners, and then being able to complete work and hand it in, where then you can mark it and print reports and find the data and scores and score reports on anything that they've done on the platform. So I'm going to go now into my work area. We're going to look mostly at to-dos, work, and data in this section. And going into work, the work area is basically like your My Documents folder on your computer. It's just a cloud document storage. So like OneDrive or Google Drive or Dropbox, anything you're using like that. But this does also obviously work hand in hand with everything we're doing on Purple Mash to do with marking, setting work, filing work, and those kind of things. So, excuse me, in the work that I've got in my folder, I'm the only person that can see my own My Work folder, by the way. No other teachers can see my My Work folder, kids can't see my My Work folder, but I can go into each learner's profile under class and find any one of my learners and see their My Work folder, for example. So if you want to just check up on what the learners are doing, if they're doing stuff that you haven't set as to-dos, you can go and see what work is in their work folder. We also have a staff folder, which is going to come in handy when I show you how to create your own resources. So if you are, say, one of 4 grade 2 teachers, and you're making a specific resource, you can make it and share it in the staff folder, where you can have a grade 2 folder. And the other teachers from your grade can go and set the work that you've made as a task directly for their classes. So when teachers are loaded onto Purple Mash, they're assigned only the classes that they work with. So you won't be able to see any class that's not your own. And that's why staff folders are really nice, that the assigned teacher can set work for their own class. So going back into my work folder, you will see that I have quite a lot of Purple Mash related activities saved in here, but I also have files that come outside of Purple Mash. So here's, for an example, a picture that I took a couple of days ago that I uploaded to share. We also can add extensions like PDF documents, Word documents, MP4 videos, MP3 files, Excel spreadsheets, PowerPoint presentations. Basically, if you name it, you can upload it and set it as a task or as a supporting document. So I'm going to, just for the sake of this while I'm here, go to show you what it's like to set a PDF document. The reason why I'm setting a PDF document in content delivery is because of our new tool, which we'll find in our tools area, which is the PDF Annotator. And the PDF Annotator will allow you to, will allow the learner to open the PDF that you've set within Purple Mash and annotate on that file without having to leave our platform. So it cuts out them having to download work, re-upload it, and so on. So I will just go and find the PDF that I want to share, click on Set to Do. I can write a description, and for the sake, please excuse me for doing this kind of description. You can write the description, change the title. You can then record an audio message for your learners. So if you are working remotely, it's a really nice feature to have for them to hear your voice. And then you can also add supporting documents. So anything that's added as a supporting document, could be videos, PowerPoint presentations, or anything, that is a non-assessed document, or something that's not assessed. It's just there for them to read and go through. Then on moving on, you'll see who set the work. You can also add objectives from your CAPS curriculum using set objectives. And then we will go and set the date that we want that work to show up and the date that we want it to be handed in. So I'm going to say I want it handed in next Friday. The restrict access and repeats are for things like typing exercises and multiplication and certain maths exercises. So we're not going to look at that now. And then we will go to the next part, which will say pupils download the PDF or pupils launch in PDF Annotator, which for the sake of today, I'm going to launch in PDF Annotator, and then assign to the class that I would like to see this work, or assign to any individual pupil. If we've got catch-up work for them to do, assign that and set it to do. Now, that took me a couple of minutes because I was talking through it quite slowly, but to be able to upload a PDF document, set it for your whole class, and then just wait for the results will take you just a few seconds, which is really quite nice. So I've set that to do. Before I go and impersonate a user and show you what it looks like from their point of view and then hand the work in, I'm going to go and find some more resources and then show you how to customize other things inside Purple Mesh. So I hope we are all following so far. If you would like, or if you have any questions on anything we've done so far, just please type it in the chat. Right, so sorry, before I go into finding more resources, if I go to my to-dos file, this is where I'll find all the work that I've set for my class. So I can go, while it's still waiting to be done, I can go and make edits to the task that I've set. I can see when it is due, who assigned the work, and an admin that is assigned to multiple classes will be able to see what all of the teachers are doing in the school. Okay, so that's what the to-dos look like, and anything that has been completed will be in this done folder, where you can go and view reports on how your kids have done and all the marks that you've given them. Okay, so back to the home page. The next thing we're going to look at is finding relevant resources and then customizing resources. So I'm just going to go into my topics area and I'm going to find something that is relating to what I'm doing in class. So say I'm doing medieval times, I will go and find this castles and knights folder. Again, just going through all of this, there are hundreds of folders full of resources that you can look at. So going into castles and knights, we have in castles and knights writing projects, painting projects, and mash cams. Quickly going to tell you what mash cams are. They are a collection of characters without faces. So your learners can upload their own photographs, or they can use the webcam to take a picture of their own face, and they'll become that character. And in there, they can write about their character and record their voice over that character if they'd like to. So it is a really nice tool, but we're not going to focus on it much today. So I'm going to go into one of my writing projects, and I will open the Knight leaflet. So I'm being a teacher right now. I want to see that this is going to be relevant to my class. I can directly from here, if I know that it's what I want to do, I can set the to-do directly without having to go into it, or I can go and launch that project just to see what it looks like. And this is going to be an information leaflet about knights, and we have a leaflet that our learners can make. So they will be able to add pictures, text, clip art, anything they want inside here. You'll see that if I click on the green button, there's going to be photographs that are only related to this specific topic. So we are eliminating our learners going online and spending hours and hours trying to find the one single picture that they think is going to be right for their project. So we've just got a nice, easy way of finding pictures. And in this particular project, we have a writer's checklist. And this checklist is just going to help you as a teacher to make sure that you're not getting a whole lot of work that hasn't been thought about. It will be things like I've researched the topic thoroughly, the text here is my own, the text is organized into paragraphs, and so on. Again, we've got our clip art here where they can put pictures. So now as the teacher, I don't think that anything needs to be changed in this project, so I just want to set it directly as a to-do. I'm going to show you, just so you know, this little hat on the top of the page. That is where you're going to customize work. That will take you to teacher mode, which we're not going to do for this specific project. So go here, I'm just going to click on Knife Leaflet, set as to do, leave the description as is, not record an audio note, set the hand-in date for tomorrow, and set it for my class. And that is how you find resources that are already made in Purple Mesh and set them as tasks immediately. Again, I'm going to go and impersonate that user just now and show you what it looks like on their profile. So I'm going to now move on to customizing a resource. So as I mentioned, we have thousands and thousands and thousands of resources, but if there's something that you would like to see changed a little bit, I'm going to use a project now on the Olympics. Right, so I'm going to go down and find my sport folder. I'm going to go into sport, and there is another folder inside here that says Olympics and Paralympics. Open that up, and it has another range of topic related projects that you can complete inside here for the Olympics. So what I'm going to do is Olympic profiles, and my example is going to be based on setting a whole lot more content to be added into to-dos for your learners to have a look at. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the Olympic profiles project, and I want to, for example, change this into South African Olympic athletes. So the first thing you're going to do is click on this little hat on the top right hand side, this graduation hat, which will take you into teacher mode, and this will make this entire project editable. So if you've found photographs that you'd like to add in, you can go to the photo picker, you can remove any of the photos that are here, and you can add to this gallery. So if you've got a bank of photographs of South African athletes, for example, you can do that. I'm going to change the word famous to South African. And then in this think about area, so I realized we didn't look at this in another project, but the think about area is going to just be just little tips and hints on how your learners can start with their writing. So if we go, for example, hover over the name, it's going to say for each Olympic athlete that you'd like to select, just type their name. And there are, these tips over here are very different. So sometimes you'll find it'll have the definition for things like similes, metaphors, those kind of things, just little helpful tips for your learners. But being in teacher mode now, I can click on this little pencil, and this whole thing becomes editable. So there's two things that you can do here. You can add content that you are specifically teaching in your class, or you can go and make a full project here in a different language. So if you were doing Olympics in Afrikaans, for example, you could go and take out the title and change it to Afrikaans. Please don't roast me if I've spelled that wrong in Afrikaans. Then you can put the text that will show up when they click on the word. It will start the sentence for them by putting text in here, and then the tooltip that will present itself when you hover over the word. And then you can also, which I like mostly for second languages, is you can record yourself saying the word or calling out the sentence or asking a specific question. So you'll just click on sound, choose record your voice, and you can record yourself. And then when you save the project, your voice will be embedded inside that project. So I'm now just going to obviously stop editing this project for the sake of time and show you how to set this as a task. So the first thing you're going to do is save it. And another great thing about this is while you're saving it, I mean, when it's saved, it becomes a resource that you have for future years. So if you're doing the Olympics again, I'm not going to say next year, you know when the Olympics is again, your resource will be there and you don't have to go and recreate stuff every year. So I'm just going to call this sorry, my spelling is shocking here. Athletes. And that will be my project that I'm saving. Now, the two ways to set this as a task is now to go back to your work folder where you'll see this will be now kept in your My Work folder, or just go directly from this menu and share it as a to-do. So there's a couple of things you can do now. You can send an email using our email program, put it into a blog that you've made on Purple Mash, or share it on a display board. But I'm going to set it as a to-do. And now it's going to give me the option to start my to-do from scratch. So I'll go make Olympic athletes. And you can write in here something like find an athlete and write about them. You would say find an athlete that interests you and write about them. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you in this description, which is an amazing feature, is you can you can embed a video from YouTube and you can put in a link to an external website. So I'm going to go and find something that I've already found on YouTube over here. And we'll go, here's the South African team that is announced to go to the Olympics. You'll just go and click on share and get the embedded code. You'll copy that. This is very, very easy to do. You just find the YouTube video, click on share, choose embedded code and copy it. And then go and put it into the description that you are getting your learners to do. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to find this other website, and this is the South African team website, and I'm just going to take that link and I'm going to put it into the to-do as well, so that there is a lot of places that your learners can go and find the content that they want to do. So again, I'm just going to go and set it as a task, set it for today. Just so you know, if you are setting tasks for future dates, I think it's quite obvious your learners won't be able to see the work. So if they say they can't see the task, please check that. Okay, then I'm going to make the hand-in date next week, Thursday. And again, set it for my grade 4 class. And that to-do is now set. Right, I'm just going to check I haven't missed out anything before I move on. Right. Okay, so now if I leave this project and I go, first of all, I can check it is now saved in my work folder. So it will just tick. There we go. I've saved it as Olympic athletes. And if I go to my to-dos, you'll now see that in order of when these to-dos need to be handed in, my to-do should then show up. There we go. There's the to-do that I've set for my learners. It's got the YouTube video embedded. It's got the link to the website that I want them to find content, and it is now set for a pupil. So I'm going to go and impersonate one of my kids, and I'm going to impersonate Andrew Freeman, and he's in grade 4B, which I've set the work for. And now we're going to go to Andrew's profile. Okay, so now I'm logged in as Andrew. Just a reminder to you all, please note when you have impersonated a user, a teacher can impersonate anyone in a class that they're assigned to. When you are impersonating that user, you do become that user. So any work that you complete as them will be completed as them. So don't complete the work for them, just a little tip. Now you'll see Andrew's profile obviously looks a bit different. He's chosen his background and we've removed early years from Andrew's profile. So this is what it looks like. And he's now got 3 alerts. So if I click on the alerts, you've got that PDF quiz that I've set, the night leaflet that I've set, and the Olympic athletes project that I've set, which he can either go directly to, or we can go and click on to-dos. And here's the work that I've set for Andrew to do. So I'm going to start on the PDF work that I set. And if I just click on start, it's going to open a PDF in the PDF annotator inside Purple Mash. And this is just a standard worksheet. I've actually taken something that I've made in our 2Quiz tool, and it is usually an interactive quiz, but I've turned it into a PDF, which is just hitting print and print as PDF, and then I've re-uploaded it in here. So Andrew can now go and use any of the tools in here. He can highlight any, sorry, that's not highlight. He can highlight work by choosing the highlighter. However you'd like your learners to answer the questions, they can annotate it with text. They can put in the bad color to choose. They can put in any lines, blocks, circles, any shapes like that, and just fill in the PDF quiz that you've set for them. So this is very handy if you have a whole bank of PDF documents already and you don't want to go and recreate them into interactive projects on Purple Mash. You can just use what we have already got here, what you've already got, and set them as tasks. All right, so now Andrew, for example, now has finished the work that he's done. He's going to go and click on save. Now, any task that you've set as a to-do, you'll notice Andrew hasn't been asked where he wants to save his work to. It's going to save the work into a file that has automatically been created for that task for you as a teacher, just so that it's much easier for you to go and find the work that's been handed in, and you can file it from there. So now in that climate change quiz, he now has the option to continue the work or hand in the work. So I'm just going to click hand in. That learner then has the option to leave you a note or a voice note, and then click hand in, and that work will then be moved to his done folder. And then the teacher will get an alert to say that the work has been done. Now, this other Olympic athletes project that I've set as a task, you'll see in this YouTube video, it's going to open the video directly inside Purple Mash. So again, we're just keeping it nice and safe that they're not leaving to go to other websites. And then we've got the website that we actually do want them to go to, that we've got as a link, and we can go click on start the project, and you will see that this is the project that you have now changed and made into your own South African project. So Andrew will then go and fill in any of this work, and I'm just going to put in, excuse me. Yeah, I'm just going to put in some text. So I'm going to say name, and whatever I've done, I'm just going to go and save it. Again, saving directly into the to-do work folder, and I'll go out and hand the work in. So I'm not going to, unless there's any questions, I'm not going to go into any more detail on how to set work or hand in work. But once the work has now been handed in, I'm going to go back to being a teacher, and you'll see that you as a teacher will now have alerts on the top of the screen for work that's been handed in. So it's going to show you a climate change quiz has been handed in. And now, because I have Neil in the background also filling in work, I just want to show you that 2 kids have now handed in the work. And for your Olympic quiz, only Andrew's handed in the work. So I can now go directly to that folder. When I click go to, it's going to open the folder that all of my learners' work has now been handed into. And I just click on these 3 dots and click on mark. And now it will open a marking sheet for me to go and mark the work. So this is Tato that's done this work. I can see the work that Tato's done. I can make any corrections on this work that I want to. So if I wanted to type in red here, I would just say save file corrections, and a corrected sheet would then be handed into Tato, but without making any changes to the original work that he's handed in. Then I can just go and create a note. So I can say well done, or I can give a percentage, or however you would like to mark the work. And then you can also go and send a reward to that kid, which is just like a simple sticker. So we're going to go for, let's just call it English because it's creative writing, and I'm going to call it, and I'll give them an inspiration sticker. It's just a nice little digital sticker that you're giving your learners as a reward. And then just to move on to the next piece of work to mark, you just click next, and it's going to flip the pages just like a book, and you're going to flip it in and mark the next piece of work that's been handed in. The same thing is going to happen with the PDF annotated work. It's going to show you the annotated work, and you can then make corrections on that and mark it. I'm not going to show you that because it's exactly the same process. And then once you have completed marking all the work, here, once that's all been completed, you can select all of these pieces of work that have been handed in and click on report, and this will then create a PDF or an Excel report on the work that's been done for your class. It's also going to include the names of any of the learners that did not attempt to do this work. So it's a nice way of seeing that on reporting. So it's going to just take a couple of minutes, and there you'll see this is what the report looks like with the comment that was given by the learner, the comment that was given by the teacher, any judgments against the CAPS curriculum, and the rewards that you've given that learner. So that is how you create a report. And now, most importantly, for those of you that have been using this program for a long time, it's very, very important, please, to file this work. Otherwise, your to-dos area will look like a disaster. There will just be hundreds and thousands of to-dos that are not filed, and it's going to actually just irritate you in the long run. So you're going to choose the folder that you want to file and click on this menu over here, and then just say close to do. And when you say OK, this work is now going to be filed automatically into each individual pupil's folder. So if I go to Andrew's folder, he's now got a folder of done to-dos, and this will be, there's the work I've just filed. So it takes split seconds to file every single learner's work into their own folders. So please do it, I'm begging you. It cleans up your whole Purple Mash portal, and it makes it a lot easier for you to use. You can also then print a report on all of the work that Andrew's done throughout the whole year. And just a reminder, because I know I'm taking a long time to go through this, this is applicable for anything that's done on Purple Mash. So if you're doing things like coding or animation or design, anything that's saved, you can set as a to-do, you can print a report. And I'll just go click on a report and make a report of everything that this individual learner has done on Purple Mash that I've selected to print a report on. So there will be all the comments that the teacher's given them, all the rewards he's gotten, the dates that he did the work, and so on. Okay, I'm going to move on then from creating resources. So I'm just checking my little note here. So we've done customizing resources, content and language. I'm sure I did mention to you that it is available to change the language on any resource. We've done setting it to do with supporting documents, videos, and links. We've done marking work. We've done exporting reports and cleaning up folders. And now we're quickly going to move on to the data dashboard, which is this button. And in the data dashboard, this is going to be a nice reporting area. There's obviously two ways to do that, the way I've just shown you now, or you can go and click in the data dashboard and you'll see the to-dos that are completed. And when you just change, sorry, I've already filed all this, but you'll be able to see any of the work that's been handed in here. You can also see any work in terms of quizzes. So I've set, for example, a multiplication quiz, and you can go and see your learners that you've got here. And I can click on Andrew, and you'll see in the specific quiz that I've set for him, that's the score that he got. Now, if I go into my other scores, and I go to multiplication again for an example, so you will have all the scores for your coding, for all your maths games, for your typing, for your quizzes, other maths games, logo, all of your scores will show up here. But I'm going to go just into multiplication to show you that when you go and look, for example, at all of Andrew's multiplication work that he's done in the Purple Mash program, you click on the plus button, you see he's got an average accuracy of 59%. If I click on plus, it's going to show me exactly where Andrew struggles and where he excels in multiplication. So when you are setting customized work, which you can set customized multiplication quizzes, you can go and see that he's actually really good at his 10 times table, and you can customize it to only show, for example, the 9 times table where he struggles. Until this whole area here turns green, we know that then he's nailed all of his multiplication. So that data area, I'm going to ask you to please, again, just browse through. And if you've got any questions, I think you all know that you are more than welcome to email us with any questions. You can WhatsApp us or phone us, anything you like, and we'll help you out straight away. On that note, I wanted you to please know that this little session that we're doing now, I'm trying to just give you ideas of what you can actually do tomorrow if you wanted to, but realize that there is so much inside Purple Mash, and we do training all of the time. So you can just contact us. We'll do one-on-one training with you, school training, group training, anything you like. So, okay, now I'm moving on into our tools area. So tools is what TooSimple has been doing since the beginning of time for our company. We've been around for 21 years, and for 21 years we've been making EdTech tools for kids. So anything to do with technology in primary school, that was always our core business, and that's what's in the tools area. So every single one of these icons that you're looking at here is an entire software program. So I'm going to just choose a couple. By the way, I was meant to make this meeting an hour and a half long, just because of the amount of content, but I only realized yesterday that I set it for an hour. So if you'd like to leave it an hour, you're more than welcome to leave, and I'll share this recording with you. But if you'd like to stay on, I will try and wrap it up as quickly as possible after that. So I'm going to go into a couple of tools to show you what they look like. So we've got different themes of tools. So we've got coding, communication and sharing, maths and data handling, language tools. Then down at the bottom, we have got quiz and game creation, art and design, music and sound, and knowledge and understanding of the world. So those are the themes of EdTech tools that we'll be looking at. And I've chosen to just look at, I'm going to try and get through about 5 of these tools to show you what they are like, but just realize that there are 50 tools here. So anytime you need some help on a tool, let me know. Starting with our coding tools, we have 3 coding programs and a planning tool for code. So I'm going to open the planning tool just so you can see, because it's not a full coding program. It is a charting program that your learners can use to plan any code that they are going to create, or anything that you'd like. If you're doing a recipe design or any kind of instructional, I've just lost my word, design, they can come and plan it in this flowchart program. And I can go and just, for an example here, I'm going to choose an example of a subroutine that you want to plan, and you can go and click on that, open it, and here they can start to plan any code that they're doing. So it is a proper flowchart program. It's obviously made to be used easily with primary school children, but if you move on to any other bigger flowchart program, you will see that it has a very similar layout. So I think you can see what this is. Just while we're in here, I'm going to show you on the top right-hand side, there is a help video for every single tool. So if there's something that you like that I've shown you now and you don't feel like a full demo on it, you can click on the help video. It'll show you how to use this tool for every single tool in the tools area. So that is obviously going to be quite nice for your kids that are already coding. And then we have got Toologo, to go, and to code. So Toologo is one of my favorite tools in the whole world, but because I think it's going to be a little bit harder to explain, I'm not going to go into it right now. It is a logo programming tool. So the little turtle, some of you may remember it from years back, where you direct the turtle around using basic commands. That is what Toologo is, and it's a beautiful way of introducing text-based coding to kids with graphics right in front of them. Then we're going to go to Go. So I know there are some primary school teachers here and grade 1 teachers. Go is a really nice way to introduce coding to your little ones. It is basically exactly what a floor robot is on screen. And then it starts to get into things like algorithms and planning. So I'm going to go and choose a simple background. There are challenges that will walk you through the program where you don't have to choose your own, but I'm just going to go in here to show you how to choose tools. So this is a Little Red Riding Hood example where she needs to get to her grandmother's house. And you can start with your little ones just using basic arrows to move across to direct Little Red all the way to her granny's house. But then if you go on the top of the screen, there is this little settings button. Inside settings, you can now start to make this more difficult as your learners start to understand what they're doing. You can add in numbers and direction, you can add in diagonals, and you can add in degrees. So I'm just going to go with numbers and direction for now, and then click on General, and you can switch Allow Programming on, which will then allow you to write little algorithms on the side of the screen, and you can change the step length. As they get more comfortable with the program, they start to count more in the blocks, and we will do something like this and put Little Red here and choose a very basic algorithm. So we've got just a 5-step algorithm here. You can make it a 10-step algorithm, or you can start to teach loop commands. So the kids just need to come in here and plan out their route. They need to do counting. If you take the grid off, it turns this from a counting exercise to an estimation exercise, if you'd like to do that. And they would just go and put in their little algorithm of how they think that they are going to get around this maze. Yeah, sorry, it's not a maze, it's just a little picture. Okay, and then they'll go and play their program, and they can always go and test it and see what they've done wrong and go back and restart again and try again until they get it right. So it's a really nice way of introducing kids to instruction and understanding that the computer will only do what you tell it to do, and you need to really focus on basically writing a recipe for it. Then we've got Toolkit. Toolkit is our block-based coding editor. It does introduce JavaScript coding closer to the end of the challenges, where you can actually go and write in JavaScript instead of using blocks. And it works like this. The beautiful thing about Toolkit is that it is a sequence of learning. So every single one of these challenges will teach you a different function in coding. It does give you the free code area at the bottom, where it will give you all of the functions. You can write your own code and do your own graphic in your code. But in the free code area of level 1, for example, it will only give you the functions that you've learned through the lessons in level 1. It's not going to overload the learners with a whole lot of blocks that they don't understand. It will only give them blocks that they've learned inside level 1. And just for a very simple example, we're going to lesson 1, which is fun with fish. And you're going to say, it's got instructions throughout the whole program. You're going to say, move the tuner right. The learners can do this on their own because there is a hint for every single area. And by using a hint, it will affect their score, which then you as the teacher can go to the data area and see the score that they've gotten for this specific piece of code. And we're just going to click start. You'll see the design is already laid out for them. So we've got our sprite in here, and we're just going to make our sprite move around. And this will say go right, and then it's going to say cool, go to the next challenge that I've got it right. So I'm not going to carry on going through this whole entire challenge. It just builds on itself. Just realize that every single one of these activities builds on from the previous one. And then we'll go all the way down to Newton and Apple, just to give you an example of how it does get a little bit more complex, where this is going to say, here's Newton. You'll see your sprites are all here. And it's going to say, when you click the apple, make the apple fall down. And it's going to start building on itself like that. So when I click the apple, my apple's going to fall down. They now understand what the when clicked function is. They have covered the when click function before this. And they can start to add things like the collision detection. When the apple collides with Newton, the apple will hide. And I'm just going to make a little mistake here just to show you that you can edit this in your JavaScript. So I'll say apple hide, 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 where it's meant to show and hide. I just go to my script. This is my JavaScript for the blocks that I'm doing on the other side. So we're not just teaching the learners at some point just to do blocks. We are bringing in the scripting and showing them what it looks like, and they can edit this. So if I go and change my code, my screen will turn red because this code is now broken and it's not going to work. So I'm going to just change that to show, and I'll change my bump hide to bump show and go back to my blocks, and you'll see my blocks have now changed. And when I play the program, it's going to run through the code that I've done here into the next challenge. So that is a really basic introduction to code. That's obviously level 1 of 3 levels where you can get quite a lot of coding done in there. So moving on to communication and sharing, we've got an email tool and a blogging tool that I'm going to focus on mostly today. We also have a mind mapping tool and a survey tool, which is like SurveyMonkey or Microsoft Forms, things like that, where your learners can make their own surveys. But to email is going to be our introduction to teaching our kids how to use email safely, and how to be a good email sender, a kind one. So we've got our to-email platform, which is here, but then we also have respond activities. So any of these respond activities, a teacher can set as a to-do, or you can just go in and click and open it. I will go, for example, say set sail with Pirate Pete, or if you're doing, for example, space, you can go and have an email conversation with Neil Armstrong. If you're doing Internet Day, you can do Tim Berners-Lee. There's so many different characters that you can email, but clicking on one of these to respond activities will then trigger this character to send you an email. So you'll see by clicking on that, it opens up my email program, which, by the way, you can also, as the admin, set that the learners can email each other within the same class, and the teachers can email the learners and vice versa. There's a lot of ways to use to email. This is just going to be the easiest thing to show you. So we're going to wait just a couple of seconds, and we should soon get an email from, there we go, Pirate Pete. So Pirate Pete has sent me an email. I'm going to open this email, and he has sent me something nice. So he's basically asking me in here that I must write down all the things that a ship will need for a trip that he's going on. So I'm learning now again how to reply. I can reply, I can write a list of the things that you need. So I'm going to say things like rope, net, and hook. And then when I send this email to the pirate, I'll just wait a couple of seconds and then he will email me back. So we have a whole conversation going with this fictional character, which is just a really, really nice way of teaching kids how email comes in, how it gets sent, and all of the functions that you would use in a standard email, just in a really safe way. So that is to email in a very, very small nutshell. There's a lot that you can do in here. For admins, please do look at the to email settings. And again, here to help you with anything that you might need on that. So then we've got to blog, which, like to email, is a communication platform. This is where we've got class blogs and pupil blogs. Class blogs are blogs that teachers write for your learners to actually go in and find content that you've sent them. And pupil blogs are learner-created blogs where they can write blogs about anything they want, if they want to do journalism classes or things like that. The pupils can, learners can share their blogs with the rest of the school if they want by using a display board, and the same thing with the class blogs for teachers. So inside a blog, quite simply, it will give you all sorts of security access options. So we are very, very big on security and safety on our Purple Match platform, just so you know. It is probably the most important thing for us, is that your learners are in a safe place. So all of the security and access settings are here. Looking at the blog that has been created, here's the blog page with individual blog posts that a teacher's made. And on the blog, the learners can now write comments on blogs. So it does become a nice interactive place for your learners to be, where your teachers can see the conversation that's happening around the topic online. Okay, then I'm going to carry on. Please do stop me if there's anything specific that you'd like me to spend more time on. I'm going to look at our language tools. There are only three tools that I'm quickly going to focus on. It's going to be to create a story, to publish, and to type. There are lots of tools here for you to look at. For example, to write is like a Google Docs kind of document where learners can collaborate on a single document, or they can use it as a writing pad. To type is our full typing tutor. So we're obviously looking at improving speed and accuracy in to type. And we have all the different ways to learn typing. Everything is in here for you. And again, it does record the score of everything that they're doing and keeps their score on the data dashboard that you can print out reports and see how their typing is going. While I'm looking at to type, I'm just going to ask you, I don't know where you are teaching typing, but I think typing can be taught minimally and the kids will pick it up really fast as long as it is taught. You don't want to bore your children with typing, but you do want to excite them with it. So then we've got to publish plus, which is basically like your Microsoft Publisher, just for your primary school learners. And we've got all sorts of different templates that they can use. They can create their own comic books, chapter books, book reviews, certificates, leaflets, all sorts of things that they can do in here. Just the layout is a lot easier for them to use. And you as a teacher can also go into one of these publishing activities and create a project and then share it with your learners as a to-do. So the same way that we looked at everything that we customized in resources, you can create all of those from scratch in your publishing project. Then I will have a quick look at to create a story. Because to create a story is such a massive program, I'm going to actually open a story that's already been made. But just to show you, when you open to create a story, you've got 3 different options. You've got my simple story, my story, and my adventure story. So as your learners get older, move up grades, they'll move into different areas of creating stories. My adventure story, my personal favorite, does include a lot of EdTech skills. So you are going to start, it looks really basic to start with. You've just got your drawing tools. You can insert sprites, you can insert links, and it does start to teach you things like hyperlinking, planning, creative writing. There's so many things that To Create a Story does at one time that it makes To Create a Story my absolute favorite tool in the whole of this tool area of Purple Mash. So I'm going to just open a pre-made story just so you can see what it looks like. We've got a little Red Riding Hood story. I feel like I'm all about Red Riding Hood today. Let's just open this up. And you'll see that because this is in adventure story mode, it's one of those stories where you can choose your own outcome. So the person that's actually writing the story has to have a lot of planning, a lot of critical thinking that comes into writing a story, because you have to plan different outcomes when you're starting the story. This can also be a really nice thing to plan using our To-Chart planning tool because of the different outcomes. So you'll see it looks like a really simple story that I've got open here, but every single one of these things that I have on the screen does have its own characteristics. So if I open this up, you can start to do animations on characters or sprites that you have in the program. You have on-click animations, so when something is clicked, something will happen. When something is clicked, a sound will happen, and when something is clicked, it'll move to a different page. So this is where we're introducing hyperlinking. Then every single one of these things has a different kind of characteristic to it. And if I go to my planning tool, then yes, Wayne, I completely agree with you. So if I go to my planning tool, we can now see the outcomes of different pages in my story. So this is all about teaching hyperlinking, what happens when you click on certain things. It has different properties that happen to certain buttons on the screen. So this is the whole plan of where my story is going to go. You'll see from page 2, I have the option to go to page 9 or to page 3, and you'll see what this looks like when I play the story now. So going into play my story, there's a little animation in the beginning, and you can go and spend as much time as you want on this and create really awesome animations. And there's my button that says Start Here. Start Here is going to take me to my next page, where I've got my first option of what I want to do with my story. So I can, it says, here's your story at the bottom. Little Red Riding Hood is on the way through the woods. What does she want to do? She want to play in the woods a little bit or stick to the path. So let's say she's going to play in the woods, and then it's going to take you to one outcome of the story. And there's just different branches of the story until you get to a couple of different endings, which is, in my opinion, a really, really nice way of teaching outcomes, which would be used heavily in coding. So that is, I can talk about To Create a Story, sorry, for like an hour and a half, but I'm going to try and just stop right there. And please give me a shout if you want any more tips on To Create a Story. Then in maths and data handling, we have tools for teaching pictograms, different kinds of graphs. So we have the 5 different main graphs that you would use and what they look like and how to create them. To calculate is like our version of Excel. So it's a basic spreadsheet program. We have branching databases. To investigate is a database program like Microsoft Access. So kids will create their own databases. They can look for outcomes. They can do statistical analysis. They can do all sorts of things using to investigate. So some of these programs are so big that I almost feel bad moving right through them, but I'm just looking again at some of the things you can get started with immediately. So To Design and Make is our 3D modeling program. I'm going to have a quick open over here to show you what this looks like. We start with very basic models, and then we move over to shapes. And if I choose a shape, you can see if you've done any CAD design before, this is a very, very simple CAD design program. The nice thing about this is that anything that you do on this 3D model, it will automatically create a net that you can print out and use in class to cut and fold and paste and actually make the model that you've made onto Design and Make. So if you are doing things like 3D printing, it's a very nice introduction to show what actually happens when something goes from 2D to 3D. Instead of just having an outcome, you have a process. And you can also, if you want to, download the STL file, if you're lucky enough to have a 3D printer, and you can actually 3D print what you've made here. So just to give you an example of this, this is just a cube to start off with. We can look at what our cube looks like when we turn it around. This can be used as an interesting lesson for your really young learners to show them, you know, the 2D to 3D. And then if we go and add points, you'll see my 3D shape will change and my net will change as I'm adding points here. So you can get your learners to make pretty much anything that they want. You'll see that's what my net will look like to print out. I can color it in online using the tools, or I can print it and color it in with a pencil, which would be my preference. Then you can go and look at the 3D model. This is the 3D model that you've made. Print it, make it, or print it on a 3D printer. So many cool things that you can do here. And a nice little tip for if you are teaching Egypt, there is a pyramid template inside to Design and Make. So if you do want your learners to make little pyramids, it's a great integration tool into a subject that you're doing. Just on that note, we're very much into integrating the technology into the classroom and not just having technology and classroom subjects completely separate things, which is why I show you things that you can actually use to teach concepts that you're doing in your classroom using technology. Then we've got art and design. This is where we've got To Paint a Picture is a really great painting program with different painting styles and techniques. And then we've got To Animate, which I'm going to open up and show you what this looks like. And To Animate is a simple stop motion animation program. You can, again, obviously, with a bit of time and effort, make some really epic animations inside To Animate. But I'm going to just do my simple waving man to give you the idea of what this looks like. So here's my man. He's going to wave. And what I'm going to do is I can switch on onion skinning, which will show me what my previous frame looks like. So when I am changing the content on the next page, I can make a really smooth animation. And I'm going to take my frame 1, move it into frame 2, and then make slight changes on frame 2. So you'll see my frame 2, the things I'm drawing are, I don't know if you can see, but are a little bit faded out. And then I'll go and erase what I've got in frame 1, and there you'll see it's faded again, what happens in frame 1. And just moving on to the next frame, what's going to happen there? Make my man wave again. And so I'm going to delete this frame and add another one. Here, I'm just going to take my frame 2 because I know it's what I want in frame 4 and add it there, and then click play, and there's my little guy waving at all of you to say hello and thank you for still sticking around. This can obviously be used for a variety of different subjects. If you want to do integration, you can get your learners to make an animation of the water cycle. You can get them to animate a seed growing into a tree. There are so many things that you can do, and one of your schools actually last year sent us an amazing animation of a scene from Star Wars. So there was it was probably about a minute and a bit. It was a whole fight scene from Star Wars, and it was made all in To Animate with music and everything. So you can also include music as a background to animation. And a really nice thing about adding music is that in our tools, you can use one of our music maker programs to create the soundtrack for your animation. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use tools to work with each other on the Purple Mash platform. That's just one of them. Create a beat or a song, and then use that, save it as an MP3, and then use it as the soundtrack for your animation. I'd love to see if any of you do that. You're welcome to send that to me, and we'll have a good smile. Then, just ending off on the tools area, the two things that I'm going to show you as teachers are 2Quiz and Text Toolkit. And then a really nice one for your learners is 2DIY 3D. So 2DIY 3D is an introduction to game design. And again, because we like to incorporate different subjects in technology, you will get your learners to create a game. Then they also have these supporting applications where they can create, or they can plan their game by using the game planner. They can write a marketing mail shot maybe. So they can use the app marketing where they will now use persuasive writing to persuade people to download their game. They can create a game magazine. And then if you then put this game onto the sharing area, onto a display board, you can get the other learners to write a review on each other's games. So we've got a game review thing here as well. So going into 2DIY 3D, it looks incredibly simple. It is actually incredibly simple to use. And what we'll do is we'll start with, yes, Wayne, you can do this on iPads 100%. So I'm going to just start and make I'm going to change my walls. I'm just going to make an Egypt project because I'm slightly obsessed with the topic of Egypt. I'm going to go and make a maze for my guy to walk through. This is a very messy one, but there's my little maze that I'm making. I can change my sky to look like Egypt. There are a couple of options here to change the sky. And then I'm not going to change any of these others. I'll put in some obstacles like fire and water and some trees. And then these things on the right-hand side, we've got the things we need to avoid and the things we need to collect. So I know I'm making a project about Egypt now. So I'm going to just make something like mummies, for example, that I'll avoid. But if you wanted to bring this into another subject, like you're doing prime numbers or odds and evens, or even in grammar, you're doing verbs and nouns, you can make the things you need to collect, all of the prime numbers and all the things you need to avoid, trick numbers, or collect the verbs, avoid the nouns, collect the odd numbers, avoid the even numbers. There's a whole lot of different things you can do with this. But I'm going to go and just put my little mummy as the thing I've got to avoid. And again, I can add characteristics to this design. So I can make my mummy move randomly around the screen, or I can make him chase me down. And what will happen, and what that mummy does, you can make him spin around and move from side to side. And what happens when he catches me, I lose a life or I lose a point, or I go back to the start. So again, just bring in small aspects of coding, and I can duplicate that. And now I'm not going to change this just for the sake of time. I'm going to say I want him to collect all the coins in the game and avoid all of these mummies. Okay, and now, and then you can also change the information screen on the page to give you instructions for your game. You can put a song in, a title, can be a really nice, fun way of creating games. And you can make multiple levels. And now when I play my game, you'll notice I don't have an instruction screen. And, excuse me, when I hit play, here is now the game that I've created that's now just turned into a 3D game. I can move around and go and find everything that I've said to collect. And we've covered the things that you can collect and how you can make them. It's got to find my coins. I'm going to stop. Sorry, someone caught me. Okay, I'm going to stop now before I get way too carried away playing this game in front of you. But I think you all hopefully get the point of what I'm trying to show here. It is a really, really fast, simple way of teaching a lot of different technology skills in one fun way. And also, obviously, bring in integration into the subject that you are learning, like Egypt or dinosaurs or anything like that. So I'm going to end in my tool section by showing you 2Quiz. I'm not going to show you Text Toolkit because I will show you maybe an end product of that. But 2Quiz is a program where you can create your own quizzes. So obviously your learners can create quizzes for each other if you want them to do that. It's a nice way of learning concepts, is to create quizzes. And or you as a teacher can create quizzes for your classes. And what's nice about 2Quiz is that everything that you make will be auto-marked because you're putting in the answers when you're creating the quiz. So I'm going to create a small quiz here. Click on a new quiz type. And you can make multiple choice quizzes, spelling quizzes, open-ended answers, labeling quizzes, matching quizzes, maths quizzes. There's a million things you can do here. Let's just go and start with a multiple choice quiz. And I will say, let's just go with, because I'm looking at a sheep, I'm going to say what color is a sheep's wool? And obviously, please put more relevant questions in there. Now, inside to quiz, you can record your voice on any part of the program. So you can record your voice reading out the question. You can record your voice reading out the answers. You can record your voice saying what picture is in this picture area over here. And we will just go, and no sheep here for me. Oh, there we go. We'll go for it. Sheep. And we will go, this is white, or you can add in all sorts of answers. You can say blue, and you can add extra answers with option 3, yellow. And you will then choose what the right answer is. So when it does get sent to your learners, they will just have to choose from that, and the system will mark the right answer. Then going into the next quiz, we'll do a labeling quiz of my famous stickman again. And you would think I'm better at drawing stickmen by now, right? I'm not. So there's my stickman. You can also upload any pictures into any of the quizzes or into any part of Purple Mash. So I will go and put here, we've got a head, and we've got a arm and a leg, just for the sake. And then we'll go and add another question type. Now the next question type that I'll add is a maths type question. And I will just choose from these areas at the bottom. I want to do a quiz on numbers 1 to 10, and I want to do a subtraction quiz, and I'll do it again on numbers 1 to 10. Well, let's just go, oh my goodness. Let's just go 1 to 5. And you just click next, and there is your next question. Right, and the next question, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a spelling quiz. And we'll just put in words, say we're going to spell colors, and I'm going to say I want to do blue, just separated by a comma, and it's going to put in your words. We'll go yellow and red. And then you can decide how you want your learners to play this quiz. So we're going to say a keyboard entry or tile entry. I'm going to put in keyboard entry for myself. And you're going to say add trick letters, yes, which is going to add a whole lot of trick letters in there for their spelling. And I'm going to put 3 questions. By clicking OK, it's automatically going to make me 3 spelling questions. And then when I go and play this quiz, I can obviously save this and then set it as a to-do, which will come out like this. I'm going to click play. Here is my quiz where it says, what color is the sheep's wool? There's my answer. It's marked it correctly. Moving to the next answer. I'll go and put some incorrect answers in here so you can see what it looks like. And go done. It's going to mark it. Move on. Then my maths quizzes. And then, and here are your spelling quizzes. So that's going to show you what the word's going to be. It's going to be blue. I say I'm ready. And then I have to type in the word that I've seen. Okay, if I'd use the tile entry for this, it's going to give me a bunch of random letters at the bottom that I need to drag the letters up. And here I'm going to say, yes, I'm ready. I know the word is yellow. And then next question, red, and quiz completed. Right, it's going to give me my score. And this score, if it is set as a to-do, will automatically be sent to the teacher. Say, this is what this learner got for the quiz, and that score will also go into the data dashboard. So a really, really easy, but also a very powerful way of making quizzes for your learners. So the last one I wanted to show you was Text Toolkit, but because of time, I'm just going to show you a completed Text Toolkit quiz, which is actually where we started back in Teachers under Grammar Resources. We have got, these are all made using the Text Toolkit tool in the tools area. So if we go for go punctuation. There will be a whole lot of quizzes that are pre-made in punctuation, and we'll go with one of these, the Zoo Tiger. Now, as a teacher, just quickly going back to customizing work, if you open one of these tests that you want to set for your learners, you'll see here, this one is just going to say like use commas. And on the left-hand side, you'll notice there's that little graduation hat. That takes you to teacher mode, and then you can create your own grammar quizzes. So that is what you can do in the text toolkit, but you can also use existing work and change that yourself to make a really focused lesson on what you're actually teaching in the classroom. And then you would just save that and set it as a to-do, and you have grammar quizzes. The same thing with the spelling area and every single other quiz on the whole entire platform, of which there are thousands, you can customize and make your own. So I've covered most of, not even most, sorry, I think I've covered a good chunk of what we have in Purple Mash, and I've hopefully not just shown you what we have, but shown you what you can actually start doing immediately if you'd like to, and get this going with your school and with your learners. And I do realize the only thing that I didn't show you, so just to end off with, is reading. A lot of you don't have a subscription to Serial Mash, but what I want to tell you is that we are offering a free Serial Mash until the end of August for every school in the country. Because of lockdowns, we do want kids to have access to reading material. So if you would like us to unlock this for you for the next couple of months and use it as your send home books, you're more than welcome to ask us. And we have about 240 books inside Serial Mash, and every single one of these books is written specifically for us. You're not going to find them anywhere else. And all of the books are organized by chapter, and every single chapter has related activities for that specific chapter. And in our newer books, you can add, or you can switch on audio. So it'll always open to the last page you were on. And you can switch on audio where it will read the book out for you. You can read the books and then do related activities for that book, of which in the new books, all of the activities at the end are related to technology. So you would have a coding thing to do at the end of this one. You would create an animation of the chapter in the second chapter. You can create a game for the third chapter. You can create a 3D model on the fourth chapter, a mind map for the fifth chapter, and then always ending with a book review. So that is really quickly what Serial Mash is. One quick thing I wanted to show you, and that's the parent portal. So every single user on their login will have an option for the parents to register for the parent portal. And the parent portal looks like this. I'm going to log in as a parent. When a parent logs in, they've added their own children. So if they have multiple kids in the class, they can choose their child's profile and just have an overview of what their kids are doing in Purple Mash. So all of the activities that they've completed, all of the to-dos that they still have to complete, and all of the to-dos that have been handed in with the teacher comments and their own child's comments, all of the work they've saved on Purple Mash, a parent blog to help them help the kids at home, and just some basic help for the kids. And they can also access their pupil directly, their child directly through the parent portal. So the reason why I'm quickly showing you that is just, it's a nice way of parent engagement, so that you can share with your parents what the kids are doing without them being involved in their child's Purple Mash portal.